How's everyone doing? Good? Oh, yeah, sure you are. 5 o'clock after a week long worth of sessions, I'm sure. But thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I know it's been a long day, I'm sure, so I will do my best to keep the energy up and make sure this is as valuable to you as it is for me. So today we're here to talk about some of the findings from Okta's annual Businesses at Work report. But before we get into that, I really wanted to level set on why identity can give insights into those business trends. So identity is that connective tissue between a complex ecosystem of people and technology. And identity powers cyber resilience and acts as the basis for the secure adoption of IT initiatives and innovations that are truly essential for business competitiveness. And with our large and diverse customer base, Okta is uniquely positioned to see the growth and adoption of technology across organizations worldwide, leveraging Okta as that connective tissue. And so for the last 9 years, we've published the trends that we see in that adoption in our Businesses at Work report. And so every year, we take a look at anonymized data from our customers and the Okta Integration Network and identify those key insights on global application and business trends. So today, I'm going to share with you a couple of those key insights that we've gathered in our 2023 report, which is data that we've gathered over the course of 2022. So diving right in on this first key takeaway, despite microeconomic challenges, businesses are really doubling down on modernization. Organizations are turning to technology to stay nimble, innovative, and productive in uncertain economic times. And while smaller organizations are looking to consolidate, larger organizations, so organizations with over 2,000 employees, are actually utilizing an average of 211 applications. That's a 109% increase since 2016 when we first started to track application usage. And recently, Gartner reported that 4 out of 5 CEOs will actually increase digital spend to offset some of those challenges faced during a down economy. And what that does is increases the expectation and responsibility for CIOs and their teams to execute on those initiatives and build digital resilience to counter those economic pressures. And so what we're seeing is that as organizations navigate uncertain times where they have to do more with less, employee engagement becomes increasingly more important and a higher priority in order to drive lower turnover, improve productivity, and overall motivation. So because of this, Workday continues to be the gorilla in the room, as both a leader in HR tools, as well as the second overall application by number of unique users. And so other HR tools like Lattice and Bob have shown staggering growth rates around 75% and 123% increase by number of customers, respectively. And another way in which organizations are becoming more efficient is through automating manual processes with clicks, not code. And so automation tools like Okta Workflows are being used in order to securely automate those manual processes and eliminate risk introduced by human error. And across all verticals, the tech sector, no surprise there, really leads the way in workflow adoption. But the other sectors are really not that far behind. Healthcare and pharmaceuticals is growing 58% year over year by a number of accounts that are using workflows. And the finance and banking industry is both posted 52% year over year growth in workflow adoption. So not that big of a difference. And so jumping into the second takeaway, let's take a look at those more popular apps that we're seeing increase in adoption. So surprisingly, but also not surprisingly, considering we're all here in Vegas, we've been here for the last few days, is the travel category has actually reported the strongest growth across the board, with 43% year-over-year growth in number of customers and 197% year-over-year growth by unique users. Across all categories, the 5 most popular apps showing above average growth are content collaboration tools, security, sales and marketing tools, cloud platform, and developer tools. And last year, design software was the fastest growing category with about 39% year-over-year growth in customers, and still reports about 33% in growth as of this year. And cloud platforms are actually now number 4 in overall categories by number of customers, which is up from number 6 as of 2 years ago. And let's digging into a little bit more about the travel side. The travel category is made up of 114 applications. And like I said, it was the fastest growing application with 43% year-over-year customers and 197% growth in unique users. And so people are really hitting the road to form connections with customers and partners more than ever before. And I say more than ever before because these numbers actually exceed what we saw pre-pandemic. And Navan was actually the fastest growing travel application of those 114 apps, showing 100% year-over-year growth by number of customers. And Figma has the most growth overall by number of customers, Sentry by unique users. And of the 15 growth leaders, so those in the top right corner, 13 of them were actually in the fastest growing app category in previous reports. And this includes apps like GitHub, Snowflake, HubSpot, Datadog, and Miro. And so this change in diversity of tools is actually really interesting and exciting because what this means is that these new and modern applications are actually meeting the standards, the security standards of enterprise-grade technology, and it really opens up a world of possibility for organizations. Now, let's talk about what we see as some of the key priorities for organizations in the coming year. So cloud migration is no longer a trend, but a business imperative. AWS continues to reign as the most popular cloud platform as a service, with nearly 8 times as many customers as the second place, which is Azure. And GCP is growing at an impressive clip of 40% of year-over-year increase in number of customers and 60% of unique users, which isn't really that far behind by Azure purely by number of customers. And Terraform is growing super fast as well, ranking number 7 as the most popular cloud platform, which is up from number 9 as of last year. Now, Okta's customers have gradually been complementing productivity suites with best-of-breed applications. We're seeing about 36% of Okta's Microsoft customers using 4 or more best-of-breed applications, which is up about 20% from 5 years ago. And Okta customers with Microsoft 365 continue to grow their deployment of the collaboration apps Slack and Zoom, which have both increased 3% year over year. And interestingly enough, some companies are actually adopting multiple productivity suites. So 42% of Okta's customers with Microsoft 365 also deploy Google Workplace, which is up from 38% last year and 30% 4 years ago. And let's talk a little bit about development and security. So overall, the top 10 most popular tools that are being utilized for developers are providing resources around monitoring, incident response, and testing. So tools like Sentry, LaunchDarkly, and Datadog. And this shift from early stage development tools like SDKs and coding software to monitoring and testing apps shows that if you're truly focused on growth, you can't necessarily just throw dollars and people at the problem when you run into issues. You really need to focus on having the right tools in order to drive down that time to value, improve efficiency, and reduce the manual work through automation. So with this new distributed and hybrid workforce that we're living in, it requires securing remote workers' connections from the very beginning. So it's no surprise that VPNs and firewalls have really been the most needed tool category since passing endpoint management and security back in March of 2020. And that's shown a 31% year-over-year growth by number of customers. And we're also seeing growth in training for security hygiene. So tools like Known Before, Inspired eLearning, FishMe, and proof point security awareness training have shown growth 39% year over year by number of customers. Additionally, infrastructure monitoring also grew about 29% year over year. And so we're seeing a move away, more specifically to identity, we're seeing movement away from traditional factors like authentication apps, push-in one-time passcodes, to an increase in high assurance factors like security keys and biometrics, which is inclusive of Okta's WebAuthn. So we've seen impressive growth rates with WebAuthn of about 46% year over year in customer growth and 211% year over year in unique user growth. And Okta FastPass is seeing significant increased adoption with over 2,000 live customers using it in live production, and we're already seeing more than 10 million authentications on a monthly basis. And I may be biased, but I've been told that people who have it love it. I don't know if any of you are in the room. And moving on to this fourth takeaway is around work-life boundary. I'm sure some of us have struggled with that these last few years. But the last few years have really proven to be challenging for a number of reasons. But what that's done is it's placed a greater emphasis on work-life balance. And to facilitate that work-life balance, about 78% of organizations have said they're either currently implementing or planning to implement mental health resources. And that's because there's a lot at stake. An estimated of 12 billion working days are lost yearly to anxiety and depression, which comes at a cost of about $1 trillion in lost productivity. And more on those blurred work-life boundaries. In our data, we see about 75,000 end users every month currently using Okta for their personal needs. And from that, we've been able to gather that the data is showing that mental health, resiliency, and work-life balance are some of the fastest growing apps across a number of categories and customers. And now this split usage between personal applications and enterprise applications also inspired Okta to pursue the development of Okta Personal. So in order to allow end users to see Okta as their own personal thing rather than just their organization's thing or their company's thing. Okta Personal can help secure your enterprise by providing tools for employees to have good security hygiene when they're not even working. And it also provides the tools necessary to clean up those personal applications from your corporate environment and allow employees to move those passwords and personal applications from their Okta Enterprise account to their Okta Personal account. And the last big takeaway here is that the complex world we live in has brought out the desire to do good. So Giving USA's annual report on philanthropy has reported that $485 billion was given across individuals, bequests, foundations, and organizations in 2021, which is a 4% year-over-year increase from 2020 contributions. Now, 4% doesn't seem like a lot, but when we're talking in the hundreds of billions, it's pretty sizable. And so technology is really rising to meet that demand to do good through donations, volunteering, and mentorship as well. Okta Apps for Good has pre-built integrations with applications that facilitate that through Okta Integration Network to provide a platform that makes donating and volunteering easier than ever before. And our users are taking advantage of this. Okta Apps for Good went from 1.2 million active users last year to 1.6 million active users this year, and that's about 26% growth. And as we wrap this up, I wanted to give some time back, give you guys a little breather, but as we wrap up this presentation, some of the key findings from this year's, I'd like to summarize with that there's really no surprise here, but SaaS adoption continues to rise. But the remaining findings are really the surprise here. So because SaaS applications are on the rise, organizations are moving away from building things in-house and instead investing in SaaS tools. But they're not compromising on their standards. Their decision-making processes lean towards best of breed and enterprise-grade security standards. And so if you're interested in learning more about the details, I know a lot of my slides didn't have the stats on them directly, but you can visit this website posted here to download the full report. And thank you all so much for coming. Appreciate it.